let's look at Hasan Piker.
Oh, yeah, this was cool.
Hasan went on the Dan Lee Batard show, who I guess is like a sports guy, right?
Former ESPN.
He's a former ESPN. He had an ESPN show, and now he has his own independent show on his company, Meadowlark Media.
And they're going to try and push the crime thing. Minnesota apparently was like 14th lowest crime in the country. They're going to push they're turning it into Mogadishu. And then the combination, of course, is that, you know, how come Donald Trump doesn't say, well, what is it? A13? What was the name? Or MS-13?
MS-13, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't say MS-13 anymore. That was the big, you don't hear caravans, you don't hear MS-13. But immigrant crime is going to be the big thing. Tim Walz allowed immigrants to have licenses. Go ahead.
I'll give you another fact. Democrats should constantly be talking about the fact that there is no readily available empirical data to suggest that immigrants are doing more crime. As a matter of fact, the only available empirical data shows the exact opposite of that reality. So it's a pure Republican hysteria, Republican panic, and it's really racist panic. One other thing I will tell you is this. Donald Trump talks about immigrants are responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths every year. That's what he says. He says that at his rallies. He says that as the RNC. I've never heard from a Democrat be like, yo, hold on. What are we talking about here? That seems like a big old deal. I've never heard a Democrat go, that seems insane to say. Let's take a look at the data. Well, I did look at the data. Customs and Border Patrol data shows. Do you want to know how many murders undocumented migrants committed? I'll tell you what it is. I looked at the data. 23. So that means, and we've definitely heard 23 horrific, gruesome things that an undocumented citizen has done in this country. So that means that every single instance of a murder committed by an undocumented migrant was heavily publicized in this country in an effort to make you think like they're doing crimes every day. This doesn't mean that like undocumented migrants are responsible for zero crimes. Of course not. Everyone, they're human beings. Some human beings are going to do good things. Some human beings are going to do bad things. We're all a victim of our own circumstance. But you have to look at, like, if this is how to deal with crime, you have to look at the entire group of people and see if they're responsible for an overwhelming share of the crime. And it turns out they're responsible for less crime. It's actually insane that we have this conversation.
What's he doing? He's doing this on a basketball court?
Yeah, he's getting his shots in. But he's exactly right. I recently read a book,
100%.
Springer, which is not is an academic publisher, not radical at all. Immigration and Crime: Taking Stock by Charis E. Kubrin and Graham C. Owsley. And the evidence is extremely unclear, pointing to any sort of rise in or like non-existence. Pointing to any sort of rise in crime after rises in immigration stuff. This is just a fundamental fact, and it is crazy that one of the political parties can't just say, yeah, actually they're lying about immigrants and crime, and that being a strong relationship.
Yeah, the amount of work to push back on that would not be that hard. And, you know, that's what supposedly Biden was going to do, right? He was going to make that distinction. Like, we should be, close down the border more or less, but migrants are not bad people.
Yeah, and they were going to have like AOC talk about the sort of root causes and that sort of stuff. They've and you still see that in like Walz will occasionally mention like Venezuela. We can't be like destroying their economy and causing that. So like that is growing, but it just hasn't overshot the policy from up high, really.
I mean, this is work that has value not just during a campaign, but has value in the context of legislation, on and on. I don't know. I mean, we're going to move into a new phase of the campaign after the RNC. It's going to get more sort of like grounded, it seems to me, in some of these issues. And we got to see Democrats do that kind of thing. Between now and the DNC, I should say, it's going to be more of this stuff about how, J.D. Vance copulates with couches, and there's only 4 people showing up at his rallies, and Donald Trump is like sunsetting. All these things are going to be a big part of it. But once you start getting into the fall, it's going to have to be it's going to be incumbent upon Democrats to push back on this stuff. All right, couple IMs and then we're out of here. Vermont Ben, has the Majority Report commented on the Ukrainian special military operation into Russia's Kursk Oblast? We haven't. I've read a little bit about this offensive. I don't know much about it. And I just have not had as much time to read about this stuff as I would like. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.